myself, which kind of helps. So this is my first stream. We'll see how it goes. I have at least one person in chat. Feel free to talk at me, and if I mess things up, let me know. So I'm going to play Seduce Me 2 The Demon War. I got this when it first came out, and I just haven't had any time to play it because of life. It is one of my favorite otomes, even though I just know it's not other people's favorite otomes. So I'm just going to play through it. It's a blind run. I've never played it before, so this will be fun. Let's see. Why is it not reading desktop audio?
Hold on there! Before you start the game, I need to ask you a few things. Don't want you getting lost now. First of all, have you read the first story, Seduce Me the Otome? Like, seriously read it. No skimming, no pretending to read it. No. It's okay if you haven't, but there are a lot of things in this game that you won't understand unless you've fully experienced and understood that story first. Oh, okay, awesome. Next question. You do know this is Matthew's route, right? You know, that cute fourth son, the one who made Simon Tabby, the creepy doll? Oh, awesome! All right then. Matthew's such a cutie, isn't he? I mean, not like he's a kid or anything. Anyway, I have one last question for you. Some people like hearing the trigger warnings before they start games, while others don't really care and just want to play. It's cool either way, but do you want to know about some of the content listed in the game? All right then. Oh, just so you know, though, anytime you have the choice to have sex, you can totally say no and still get the good endings. Consent is very important, regardless of who you are. I think that should be everything. All right. Phew, that took a while.
You forgot something.
Huh? What did I forget?
You forgot about the disclaimer.
Oh, crap! Oh, how could I have forgotten about that?
It's fine, I'll take care of it. This game was produced by Michaela Laws using the Ren'Py visual novel engine. We truly hope you enjoy this story.
Thanks, Diana. Now, don't you have a war to go fight?
I do. I just wanted to make sure everything was in order before the story began. I'll take my leave now.
Thanks, Di.
Do not call me Di.
Anyway, we really do hope you like the story. Have fun! See you at the end.
This has gone on for long enough! I will not let them trap me in a corner like this! Azira!
Husband.
You're still here. Why have you not left like the others?
What do you want?
Do you honor our marriage?
I don't know. Did you honor our bond when you slept with that whore?
I said, do you honor our marriage?
I do honor it, unlike you.
Then you still stand by our bond?
Why are you asking me these questions?
Because I need your energy.
What? What do you?
I'm giving you your physical form back. You should be thankful.
What? What are you?
Well then. I could only stare at what was in front of me. I could hardly believe it was real, but there it was, right before my eyes. How had my life even gotten to this point? As I gripped the pen in my hand, I let my mind settle into the situation. My fingers gently slid over the pen's surface, nervous and softly shaking. This was happening.
Hey, is everything okay?
I glanced up to see Matthew, looking at me with worry. I could only shake my head and smile before finally signing my name on the paper in front of me. We'll leave the default name. Looking at my own name made me somewhat giddy, especially since it was next to Matthew's. So what do you think? Matthew looked over and gently rotated the paper on the table to look at what I had written.
Thank you for coming to our wedding.
What's wrong?
Nothing. It's just really cool to see our names together.
Oh, he's so cute. I felt a blush run across my cheeks. Was he thinking the same thing I was? Looking at our names together made me feel warm and fuzzy on the inside. I might be a little jaded to play this route. Looking at Matthew, he was grinning ear to ear, which made me do the same. His smile was practically infectious.
Anyways, we are very happy you could all attend. It means so much to us that you support our step forward, and we hope you enjoy the reception. That sounds good, right?
Yeah, that sounds good. Wedding preparations were nothing like I expected. I had organized parties before, but my own wedding had become a new foreign adventure for me to figure out with Matthew. Invitations, budgets, the dress, the ceremony venue, the reception hall, it was all crazy. Still, I was glad to know that I was able to do this to be with Matthew. He seemed as excited about it as I was. There was something missing, however. Hey, Matthew?
Huh? What is it?
Do you think your mom would approve of this? Oh, that's a question. That feels like a loaded question. The curiosity of the idea had been eating at me ever since he proposed to me. I knew he wasn't a fan of his father, but his mother was a different story. According to him, she had always been supportive of him right up until he left. Matthew rubbed his head, staring at the table in thought.
Well, I don't know. I think she'd be surprised I'm marrying a human. But I think she'd be okay with it in the end. She is my mother, after all.
That sounded kind of despondent. Matthew only smiled and shrugged. I knew it was a bit out of left field to ask, no really, but I was curious. I wished his mother could be able to attend the wedding, but I knew that would never be an option. Huh? My thoughts instantly derailed as I caught a ghostly whisper that seemed to reverberate in the air. I couldn't pin down the location, but I knew that I had heard something.
Huh? What is it?
You didn't hear that?
Hear what?
I looked at Matthew in surprise. He didn't hear the whisper. It had spoken his true name. I shook my head and rubbed my temples. Maybe I was just imagining things.
Help me.
There it was again. I stood up from my seat and looked around, trying to figure out where the voice was coming from. Oh my god, his face. Who's there?
Whoa! Whoa! What's wrong?
I looked at Matthew. How could he not hear it? I wasn't crazy.
But I don't hear anything. My real name? Zakeru? I'm sure. Does she sound like anyone we know? I'll look into it, okay? For right now, don't worry about it and ignore it. It might be an illusion or something. This place is so full of magic, so it could be that.
Matthew gently released me and gave me one of his goofy smiles.
Alright, well, I think that's enough work for today. Let's save the rest for tomorrow, okay?
I nodded. Today had been pretty stressful, so rest would definitely be good. Matthew led me back up to our room and got ready for bed. I, however, watched as Matthew absently ruffled his hair. Despite his kid-like demeanor, he was still a man, and he was the one I was going to marry. I don't know, he's still too kid-like for me, but I'll play all the routes. What was even better about our love was that we both loved every part of each other. I couldn't stop gushing over his eyes, his fluffy hair, his kisses. He drove me crazy as he made me smile every single day I spent with him. This is actually really sweet. It didn't help that he was also sexy underneath that baggy clothes he wore. No one was privileged enough to see him bare, and I was the lucky woman given that permission. A simple ruffle of his hair was enough to catch my attention, and I stared at him. I really loved him. A small fire burned in my core, letting me know of my sexual attraction to him, but I wasn't sure of whether or not to go with my gut or just sleep. Come on, this is me playing. Tease him! Up and down his body.
Huh? Then let me make it better. so much.
The darkness was meant to be peaceful. Sleep was meant to be relaxing. However, my mind began to wander to what had happened earlier that evening. Hearing that voice made me worried. Something was off. Something was going on, and I was the only one who could sense it. Why, though? I let the darkness seep into my mind a little longer, unsure of what to think of it. What the? Okay, that actually gave me chills. That's kind of creepy. I opened my eyes
Release me!
Oh, I will. I'll kill you once I'm bored of this game. Your struggle is just so much fun to watch.
You think this is funny, brat?
Do you really think calling me a brat is going to help you?
Well, that's what you are. A brat who abuses his toys until they break.
That's right. I like to play with my toys until they're of no use to me. That's how toys work. And when I'm done with them, I destroy them.
And what of the human? Is she just another toy?
She's not just a toy. She's my favorite toy. I can't break the toy that I have the most fun with, especially when that toy gives me so much energy. I'll keep you with me forever and ever. No! This world is mine. No one can stand in my way anymore. Not James, not the Demon Lord, and not you, Diana! And I've grown tired of you.
As my voice ripped through the air, everything went black. My body, however, sat up in bed in shock from what I had seen. My scream reverberated through the room as I let it sink in that I was awake and that all of that had just been a nightmare. Despite it all feeling real, I was no longer in a cage. I wasn't in a room with Diana being ripped apart. I wasn't...
Ah! What?
I shot my head to the side to see Matthew in bed with me, sitting up beside me and rubbing his head. A heavy tiredness weighed down the eyelids over his frightened eyes, but my mind suddenly began to see.
Whoa, whoa! It's okay. It's alright. It's just me.
Matthew's voice tried to warm over my fear, but my feelings were still conflicted. Despite my brain knowing better, he continued to stare at me, waiting for me to relax. I could only meet his gaze warily with both fear and sadness.
Hey, I'm gonna hug you, okay? That's all.
Hey, Pilfrick, welcome aboard. My heart wanted to believe him. I had to. I couldn't be as sadistic as my nightmare. He couldn't be as sadistic as my nightmare had depicted. I nodded, and Matthew slowly began to wrap his arms around me, hugging me to his chest.
There we go. It's okay. bad dream, huh?
Yeah. Matthew gave me a soft squeeze, snuggling up to me, and I gratefully snuggled back. He would never hurt me. I couldn't let myself be this affected by a nightmare. Hopefully he wouldn't ask about it.
Hey, whatever the dream was, just know that everything will be alright, okay? It was just a stupid nightmare. Whenever you wake up, I'll be right here beside you, ready to make it go away.
The way he sounded so confident made my heart flutter in my chest. He truly cared for me, and that was something I adored about him. He loved me, and I loved him in return just as much. I nodded and nuzzled his shoulder, warming into his embrace again. Matthew smiled and kissed the top of my head. As I closed my eyes, he gently laid us back down onto the mattress and helped me to lie against him, which was just right. Thankfully, the nightmare didn't return that night. I was left with a warm embrace and a peaceful slumber until the morning rose. Even in the days that followed, the nightmare didn't come back. Neither did the mysterious voice. My week became peaceful, final details for the wedding becoming our only focus. I was nervous for it, and soon the day of the wedding had snuck up on me, and I was in my room, staring at myself in my wedding dress. I could hardly believe it. I was getting married. My family and the guests were all at the church waiting for me to march in, but I was so nervous that I hadn't left the mansion yet. It was only a 3-minute drive away, so it wasn't like I was in a terrible rush. But it's okay, because apparently, I'm not sure what the whisper is blue. It might be my apartment complex. They are playing something outside, like music in the patio, so that might be it. I don't know. I guess I'll play with mic settings later and figure out what's going on. Yeah. Is that better? Hopefully, maybe. I turned both microphone and stream up. So hopefully that works. Looking at the digital clock in my room, I marked the time. 30 more minutes. Yay! I'm glad it's working now. It's my first stream, so I'll figure it all out. Let me turn up. There we go. Is that even better? Yay. Alright, 30 more minutes. I let out a sigh. I had asked my friends to allow me to get ready on my own, so I was alone in the mansion. Yet, even while I was alone, the anxiousness of the wedding made me nervous. Why? Was I just that excited? Running a hand over my dress, my fingers traced over the seams and intricacies of the design. It was indeed my dream wedding dress, down to the last detail. My parents fronted the bill as congratulations, which still made me laugh. I don't know, man. I don't know why people spend so much on wedding dresses personally, but how they had ever come to accept Matthew was a mystery to me, especially when he was incredibly vague about who he was. I blamed his incubus magic. Before I could wander farther into my nostalgic memories, I heard my phone ring, ushering me to quickly answer. Hello?
Hey, Lucky Bride. We have a little bit of a problem.
My mind quickly froze. A problem? What could possibly be wrong?
Now you're scaring her, Naomi.
I don't mean to. Just tell her about the ring.
Suzu, yay! Huh? The rings? What about the rings?
Well, apparently Matthew forgot to bring them. He knows where they are, but you'll have to bring them with you when you come.
Men. I let out a small sigh. It wasn't a big problem, thank goodness. It was something that had an easy solution. Okay, that's fine. Where did he put them?
Well, he said he put the rings in his dresser drawer. He said it was so Simon couldn't get them.
Background, Simon is a creepy doll that he made in the first one, and it's like this little killer squirrel bunny. It's really creepy. Yes, men, Pilperk. Really? I rolled my eyes. Simon wasn't that bad. Besides, he was a doll. Sure, he was a doll that could move and stuff, but he wasn't evil, just a bit mischievous. Creepy. Creepy doll. Creepy doll. Alright, I'll bring them over. Meet me at the front of the church and I'll hand them over before the wedding starts.
Got it. See you soon.
I hung up and smiled. At least the issue wasn't something outrageous. That would have been mortifying. Quickly, I rushed over to the dresser and opened the drawer, expecting to see the ring box in plain sight. What the... When I looked inside, I found nothing except clothes. I opened each drawer of the dresser, checking each nook and cranny while moving clothes around to find the box. Nothing. Ah! Simon! Creepy! I looked up and glanced around the bedroom, unsure of why Simon was laughing. He was really wanting to play a game right now. Blue touche. Men that suck are the best ones. Damn it, Simon! I hiked up my dress and began to search the halls of the mansion, determined to find Simon. He had to have the rings, and I was in no mood to play around. Simon, give me the rings! He couldn't have gone far. I decided to check this floor before going downstairs. Do I want to do the foyer, the library, the bathroom, or the office? Let's check the office. Looking around the office, Simon was nowhere in sight. I grumbled to myself. Where the hell can that thing be? I sighed before leaving the office, walking towards another room. Alright, let's do bathroom so I can keep track of them. I stepped into the bathroom, looking around and hoping to find the fur ball somewhere with the ring box. Alas, he didn't seem to be anywhere in sight. Do I want to play a game? Yeah, that's pretty much what Simon is like. What the hell? I grumbled to myself before turning to leave. However, my eyes locked onto the bedroom mirror, seeing something that made my heart freeze up. Oh, great. Around my neck was a large tattoo-like mark resembling a blue chain. It was almost glowing over my skin, and the nightmare suddenly rose into my thoughts, reminding me of the fear I had. Staring at it, my body began to tremble as the mark seemed to snake around my neck like a moving shadow. For a moment, I thought the mark would tighten against my neck from simply watching it circle over my skin. Creepy. I brought my hands to my throat, trying to cover it. I didn't want to see it. It had to have been an illusion, right? I was imagining it. I hesitantly removed my hands from around my neck and sighed in relief to no longer see the chain mark. I was freaking out over nothing. I rubbed my eyes gently, relieved. Jeez, I'm getting worked up over... However, as I looked back in the mirror, around my neck was a blue collar. I reached to my neck and gasped as I physically felt the collar around my neck. He's kind of like a jigsaw. I'll have to dig out a picture for you guys if we don't see him in the game, because he's a creepy little thing. Get it off or close my eyes. Get it off. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be happening. I wrapped my fingers around the collar and began to pull at it, trying to rip it apart and get it off my neck. It stretched slightly in my hands, but it remained fastened around my neck. I hastily ran my fingers around it, trying to find a latch or closure. When my fingers came up with nothing, I began to panic even more. How could there not be a latch? I needed to get it off of me. I pulled at it again, practically choking myself in my efforts to remove it. The collar once again stretched in the direction of my pulling hands, but would not rip open. Get off! I nearly screamed, clawing at the collar and yanking it in different directions. Why was it on my neck? Why wouldn't it come off? At that moment, a word came up in my mind. I wasn't sure how it got there or why I thought of the word, but it appeared in my thoughts as if it was exactly what I was thinking about. My fingers began to tingle slightly as it resonated in my mind. As I opened my mouth and let it fly from my tongue, I felt my body slightly warm in reply. Salvo. The collar, somehow responding to what I had said, began to quiver around my neck before fading into black mist and disappearing into the air. Always get off is definitely an option. I instinctively sighed in relief. It was off. Thank God. I rubbed my neck, gratefully feeling only my skin and silently appreciating the sensation of my fingers running over my bare neck.
I knew it. I knew it. That girl has demon magic.
Ugh, I think that's the Demon Lord. What the...
Quit talking and let's take her.
No, maybe it's not the Demon Lord.
The Demon Lord will be so pleased.
Who? Before I could turn to search for the voices, I felt hands grab hold of my feet and I looked down and lifted my dress. 2 pairs of evil-looking hands had taken hold of my ankles, reaching through a dark red and purple pentagram. I shrieked, trying to pull my legs away, but couldn't stop them as they swiftly pulled me into the ground. And you're welcome for the peep show, demons! I was pulled deeper into the darkness. I was no longer in my room. I was being dragged through a dark void, one that I couldn't escape. I don't think the bathtub has a pulse setting on the shower wand, but there is a scene in the first one where she gets jiggy with it with one of the demons in there, so... I reached out and clawed at the dark, trying to find something to grab onto. I tried to pull my legs away from the hands that were holding them, but I couldn't pull free. What was going on? Why was this happening? Someone help me! As if someone had heard my screams, I suddenly felt the hands let go and disappear, leaving me to float in the darkness they left me in. I shut my eyes. Please let this be a dream. Please let this be a dream. I finally felt the surface under my feet, and I collapsed onto it, my body curling in on itself from the experience I'd had. I didn't dare tear my eyes away from my lap, not ready to give this up just yet. The voice I heard, however, made my heart stop.
You! What are you doing here?
Diana? I looked up, finally having the courage to take in my surroundings. My heart stopped beating for a moment, seizing in my chest. Yeah, it's Diana! I look up to see 5 figures, strangers, monsters, beings that I didn't recognize. They all looked down at me in surprise, as if I had dropped in at a very bad time. Okay, so Diana I've seen before, but these 4 are new. One man looked like an orc from a fantasy game without the tusks. That must be this guy. He had broken horns and a very frightening aura around him as he stared at me. The other male was lanky in comparison, more human-like, but I could almost feel power emanating from him regardless. He was very pretty. One of the women who was staring at me had rabbit ears. They twitched on top of her head as she looked at me and gripped her staff. She seemed harmless. Yeah, she had animal ears. The one creature that I couldn't discern the sex of seemed more excited to see me than surprised. What freaked me out about them was that they had wings sticking out of their back and they were floating. The last woman, however, set off alarm bells in my head as I looked at her surprised face. Her hair, her eyes. Diana? As she stared, the woman turned her body towards me in recognition to the name I called her. It was her. Wolfie!
What are you doing here?
Diana walked towards me and stared down at me. It was odd. She didn't look like a human, yet I wasn't afraid of her demon form as it towered over me. I was more in shock as to what was going on. Before Diana could speak further, most likely to repeat herself, a figure quickly stepped up and bowed to her, kneeling beside me.
My lady, please forgive me. I felt something moving between our worlds and assumed the Demon Lord was to blame, so I intercepted his summoning of this human.
In the first game, Pilferic, there's actually a route with her, and it is very, I think it's more sexual than the 6 male routes that are in the game. So it's very, very wow.
You! So I wasn't the only one who felt the change in the air.
Diana stared at the man kneeling beside me as I kept my eyes up at her. That sentence seems weird. As she turned her gaze back to me, I gulped silently. What was she going to do with me? That's actually her natural demon form. It's sort of like a pan thing. Something moving in between worlds. Har har, I see what you did there. This felt all wrong. I was about to be married. I was about to live my happily ever after with the man I loved. Now I was in a place I didn't know with Diana and a bunch of other creatures I didn't recognize. My instinct was to... Alright, it's body paint if you insist, Wolfie. Attack, cry, stay still, or scream. See, it's a pan thing. Look. See? Pan. Crying seems blah. Screaming is stupid, so I will stay still. I couldn't move. My mind was empty of emotions except for fear. Why was this happening? Where was I? Why was Diana here? I don't think there is a Diana route. I'd have to go back to the main screen, but I know it's something that the author of the game wants to do eventually, as well as all the human routes. So Diana stared down at me before sighing and kneeling down to my level. As she settled onto her knees, I leaned away from her, unsure of what she'd do. Was she going to kiss me again and take my energy? Knowing her, maybe.
Can you tell me what happened?
I didn't want to speak. I felt no courage to. My mind was so wrapped around this chaos that I felt nothing but fear and anxiousness. This couldn't have been happening. I was dreaming.
Is she okay? I don't think so.
This is a waste of our time. Just kill her or something.
Oh, fuck you.
Yes, because that's a smart thing to do. Kill someone who is clearly traumatized and has done nothing to deserve death. Brilliant idea. Bravo.
I like him. I think that's the guy with the pretty hair. Diana continued to stare at me, waiting for me to answer. Why? She didn't cast a spell on me, nor did she attack me. She continued to wait and stare. If I could lick the body paint off, I would. Slowly, my mind began to sink into the situation. Diana was willing to listen. Was she willing to help? That was another question, but first I had to answer her. My voice didn't want to answer still, so I forced myself to nod, wanting to answer her somehow. Diana smiled softly, which conflicted with my memories of her. She never smiled like that. Yet she was now. Diana held out her hand, ushering me to take it. Phrasing!
Can you stand?
I nodded again and took her hand, standing up at last. I looked around at the other beings in the room. They all kept their gaze to me, unsure of what I would do or say. Diana, however, led the conversation.
First, can you tell me what happened to you?
I took a breath, recounting everything that happened. I was about to go to the church to be married, and then... I was attacked by this darkness. A couple of hands grabbed my legs and pulled me into it, and then I fell here.
A shadow summoning.
Diana turned to one of the beings, the lanky male, and glared. He's just so pretty!
One of yours couldn't have.
On my honor, it wasn't any of mine. We have nothing to gain from kidnapping a human. Nor do we know who this woman is, anyhow.
My lady, if I may, I clearly remember hearing imp demons in the void along with her. It must have been the Demon Lord's henchmen.
Those damnable creatures. That explains it.
Diana crossed her arms and looked at me again.
Well, dear, it seems that you were to be either a new harem girl for the Demon Lord to ravish, or bait for the boys to return to their father's side. Either way, I doubt you would have lived long had the Demon Lord gotten his hands on you.
Oh, thanks. That's reassuring, Diana. A violent shiver ran up my spine. Was it true? I would have died?
Wait a minute. This girl knows about the Demon Lord's heirs?
Why would you take offense to being called a human? She is.
Yes. Hilariously enough, she was set to marry one of them, as you can see from her garb.
As Diana motioned towards my dress, I realized how vulnerable I was and felt extremely self-conscious. I wrapped my arms around myself as Diana let out a sigh.
Well, since you do not belong here, the obvious thing to do is to send you home.
I couldn't help but stare wide-eyed at Diana. She was really going to send me home? Really? I couldn't believe my ears. You'll really send me back?
Of course. It should be easy to do once everything is in order. It'll be like you never left the human world.
Meat Popsicle is definitely better than Meat Puppet. Wait, like I never left the human world? What do you mean by left the human world? Diana stared before chuckling softly and gesturing to the room and beings within it.
Dear, do you not realize where you are? You are in the demon world.
My mind went blank. It couldn't be. I couldn't be in the demon world. No way. No way in hell. Ha! Pun! Punny! Punny. I felt myself back up against the wall behind me, suddenly afraid. I was in another world? How? That was impossible. Diana stepped towards me, both of her hands softly trying to show me she meant no harm as she positioned them in front of her body.
Do not panic. We will send you back now, so there's nothing to worry about.
Very pretty, very sexy demon world.
How will you power the spell? Bringing someone here is no easy task, but sending someone back consumes much more energy.
I'll use what energy I have now and rest. We can organize the siege another time when I fully recover. It's not like the Demon Lord can escape the corner we've trapped him in, so we do have some time to spare.
You'd waste time and energy on this human. We must strike now while the Demon Lord is weakened.
But the human doesn't belong here. She needs to go home.
Shall I prepare the return spell?
God, he's so pretty.
Do. I grant you permission to use my energy to power the spell.
With a nod, the lanky man held out his hand towards the wall. I looked over in the direction it was aimed at. Diana's shadow? I watched as Diana's shadow simply stood against the wall, mirroring the movements of the real succubus in the room. Before my eyes, the shadow began to morph and expand on the wall on its own. I looked back to Diana to see her wrapping her arms around herself and curling her shoulders over as if she was in pain. Her nails embedded themselves into her forearms, and I could barely make out a painful hiss escaping her clenched teeth. Was the spell hurting her that badly? I turned back to the wall to see Diana's shadow shaking and vibrating as if it was resisting the change the man was forcing on it.
You will obey my command. Open the gates to the void, and allow passage to the world we seek.
Transitum per et genives. Ubi apperit. Piano eo.
Upon Diana's final word, her shadow burst and expanded into an oval-shaped doorway. I stared wide-eyed at the passage before a hand placed itself on my shoulder, forcing me to look over. The one with the spear gently pressed my shoulder forward and looked down at me with almost a stern face.
You must leave now. The faster you leave, the quicker we can close the void.
Go! Go! Go get married!
I quickly nodded and lifted the bottom of my dress, stepping forward to make a run for the passageway. However, before I could bolt towards my freedom, a snarl echoed through the room.
How dare you interfere with my summoning!
Ruh-roh, Raggy. At that very moment, Diana began to scream, arching her spine and throwing her head back. Around her body were red-tinted bolts of lightning, flashing and shocking her form.
No!
Bow chica. Enter her oval-shaped passageway? Yes, yes indeed.
Human! Use the passage! Now!
He didn't have to tell me twice. I bolted towards the portal, driving forward as I neared it, but I was forced back by a burst of energy and a flash of red light. I fell to the floor, almost slamming my head into the stone. Like, is that... Like, I fell, like... I guess?
Human will never, ever leave this world alive!
Use spineless word!
Close the portal! The Demon Lord might get through!
But the human...
Close it!
As commanded, the man pulled his hand back, visually forcing his arm back behind his body, and Diana's shadow quickly began to morph back into a simple shadow. The electricity around Diana faded away as she began to tip forward. The man with the spear dropped his weapon and caught Diana in his arms, cradling her to his body as she panted and gasped for air. Meow.
I don't sense the Demon Lord anywhere.
The worm has to scurry through the shadows to try and fight back. He'll be dead soon enough.
How is she, guard?
Diana seemed to look uninjured, but her body was twitching from the aftermath of the magical attack. Her visible eye was shut tight as she dug her fingers into the guard's jacket to cling to him. As her eyes opened, I saw not a blood ruby color, but I saw a cold and unfriendly golden color painted over her iris. Her mouth opened as she panted for air, and I could see hunger in her facial expression, but she continued to stare at the wall, not wanting to make eye contact with anyone. Well, it is a visual novel, Wolfie. There's a lot of text to go through, so every so often typos get through, even when they're American-made. The Japanese ones, sometimes, oh my gosh. There's so many typos in Dogonzaka games.
There are no physical wounds, but she's been weakened. I must give her my energy so she can recover.
Yes, her body was twitching, and to get energy back, because they are incubi and succubi, they have to have sex to get the energy back. The man swiftly moved and hooked an arm underneath Diana's knees, lifting her up bridal style as she clung to his jacket, shivering. The spear that had fallen to the floor faded into black and purple mist as he quickly left the room with her in his arms. You already missed one sex scene, Wolfie. My mind, however, began to panic. I couldn't go home? Why was I being forced to stay? Damn the Demon Lord, this wasn't right.
There's an imp in the castle. That is the only way the Demon Lord could have been able to interfere.
You! Guards by the door! Hunt it down!
Thanks for joining, Pilferk. A pair of guards that were apparently by the door saluted the one commanding them and ran off. I felt out of place, alone, terrified as to what was going to happen. The Demon Lord wanted me here, and his words pounded at my heart. Oh, pounded at my mind. How was I going to get home? Would I ever be able to go home?
Hey.
I looked up to see the winged person hovering near me before they moved and sat on their knees on the stone ground beside me.
We'll get you home, okay? Diana just needs a little rest, okay? She needs more than rest. She needs to use a different spell to send her back. The Demon Lord will expect her to use the shadow spell again.
How about the normal way? I'm sure we can connect to a witch, or even the warlock she used before, to reopen a portal to the human world.
The warlock she used to get to the human world died, remember? And he was the most powerful warlock in the human world, practically a god himself. What other human could be used to open a portal without another human dying?
Background. In the first game, the way Diana got to the human world was by using a warlock to get there. The warlock is Micah, who is the main character, who is me. Micah is the warlock's granddaughter. So Diana killed her grandfather getting to the human world. That was a fun story.
It was merely a suggestion. The faster we get this human home, the faster we can move on and finish off the Demon Lord.
Well, what are we going to do with the human now?
Oh, thanks.
We can give her a room to rest in. Humans need sleep after all. Maybe by the time she wakes up, we'll think of a solution.
She's so cute.
Come.
Phrasing. The woman with rabbit ears looked down at me and lowered her hands to me, inviting me to take it. take it good. She had a kind but concerned expression on her face, so I trusted her. I slowly took her hand and began to stand up as the fairy figure brushed off the small patches of dust that had accumulated on my dress. I couldn't do anything. I was forced to listen to the beings around me because there was nothing else I could do. Without them, I couldn't get home. My heart ached, but I had to accept my predicament.
Here, I'll bring you to the open ambassador's room. You are free to rest there for now.
Before I make the choice, it's been about an hour. I'm gonna try and go another half hour. We'll see how long my water lasts because my throat is starting to hurt, so. Okay, or what about Diana? What about Diana? The floating person giggled softly as the woman with rabbit ears cleared her throat. I just want to know their names already, come on.
She'll be fine. She's being taken care of right now.
Ouch. Ow, ow.
Why not just say she's getting
And the brute strikes again with the lack of tasteful filtering between his brain and his mouth. You still have yet to prove me wrong about my expectations of you.
That was glorious!
Keep testing me, assassin. I'm not afraid to rip your spine out of your body and use it as a back scratcher.
You can very well try, brute.
Good thing we have very thick walls around here. Wow.
Ugh! Would you both knock it off? Come, everything will be taken care of.
Phrasing! Before I could protest, the woman led me out of the room and into the hall. I kept my eyes down, trying to take in more of the situation I was in. I was trapped in the demon world and Diana was out of commission. The demon lord had plans for me, but what exactly was he aiming for? I could have been bait. I could have been revenge. I didn't know, nor could I figure it out now. At least I was safe. At least I hoped I was safe. The woman led me to a room that practically screamed medieval fantasy. Everything was clean, but it still had the old age feel, as if no one had ever stepped foot in the room until that moment.
Rest here for now. When Diana is well again, we can discuss what to do.
Thank you. I nodded to the woman before she gently curtsied and left, closing the door behind her. I took a moment to observe my surroundings, interested in understanding the aesthetic. This was fantasy turned into reality. It was like I had gone back in time. Why, though? Was the demon world really that behind in the times, or did magic supersede technology and this was the result? Despite the situation I was in, which was beyond heartbreaking and terrible, my curiosity began to fester in my mind, as if I was given a golden opportunity to learn something new. However, my thoughts began to drift, and I felt myself becoming weak and dizzy, no doubt from the shock and trauma I had gone through. I stumbled towards the bed, needing to sit down and let everything settle in without passing out. As my rear hit the mattress, however, I let out a small, pleasured sigh. I wonder what she sat on. Holy crap, this is a comfy mattress. I felt myself fall back and my entire body simply melted into the softness beneath my body. It was like I was sleeping on a cloud. Was that possible? Demon magic may have had something to do with it, but I was certain that I was drifting into almost a blissful sleep just by lying on the blankets and mattress. Not caring that I was still in my dress, I closed my eyes and drifted to sleep. I needed to rest, since Diana wouldn't be available for a while anyway. Darkness surrounded my mind, my dreams remaining silent and hushed in the cool and calm black. No nightmares appeared and no sounds were made. I was simply resting, and that was all my body needed. I let my thoughts wander in my subconscious, thinking about what was going to happen now. What will the boys do when they realize I'm gone? What will he do? I imagined him finding a way through to the demon world and pulling me back to where I belonged, wrapping me in his arms and swearing never to let me go. I would be relieved and we would be married just as we had planned. How unrealistic was that? I had to be realistic right now. I was stuck, and the only one who seemed to be able to send me back was Diana and her companions, whoever they were. I had to trust them, whether I liked it or not. Eventually, I did rise from my sleep, somehow fully refreshed and calm. How could that have been?
Did you have a good rest?
I turned my head to see Diana at the door, arms crossed and leaning against the door's archway. She had a look of concern and pure curiosity on her face as she waited my answer. Snarky, concern, or whatever. Whatever.
Good. A good rest is always important, especially to humans.
What about demons?
We rest as well, but it's not sleep like you humans do. We simply rest with our eyes open.
Okay. Why?
It's easier to avoid getting killed when your eyes are open.
Oh. I gulped. Were demons really that paranoid, or were they paranoid for a reason? Diana shook her head and stepped into the room, closing the door behind her.
So we need to find another way to get you back to the human world. It won't be easy, but I believe it can be done by tonight at the latest.
Tonight? Really? Diana nodded and crossed her arms again, leaning on one hip.
It will take time to get our shadow agents to gather the necessary supplies, but they are not hard to obtain, being that we're in a position of power. You must be lucky.
What do you mean? Diana sighed before casting a short spell under her breath. In front of me appeared a floating map, almost like a hologram. It showed an entire world with mountains, plains, and forests, and it was all surrounded by sea and water. Diana pointed at a marker that had a purple banner at its tip. It was marked in the center of some mountain and forest area. It was at the very center of the map. Let's see if I can hide it so I can see the map. No, I cannot. Darn.
That is where we are currently, the center of the abyssal plains.
Diana then ran her finger in a circle around the marker, showing a perimeter around it.
Everything we need for the spell is within this area. It will just take time to gather the materials and prepare it.
Blue, you should totally try painting your wife with grape jelly like that. I'm sure she would greatly appreciate it. I nodded, understanding the situation. I was going to hopefully be able to go home tonight, which was better than not going home at all. So what should I do until then?
My suggestion? Stay in this room. I can mark this room as off limits so that no demon may enter that would confuse you for an intruder and kill you.
I gulped. I didn't want to die. As Diana made the magical map disappear, she shrugged. Blue, I think that's a little bit of TMI, but I'm glad that she's that kinky enough to let you.
However, I cannot stop you from whatever you wish to do. Just don't leave the castle.
I nodded as she turned to leave. As she stepped out, Diana looked back to me with a reassuring look.
We'll get you back to the human world. I promise you that.
Finally, she left me alone in the room. I let out a small sigh and looked up at the ceiling. I had to wait until tonight to actually do anything. What was I going to do? Part of me agreed with Diana's suggestion, wanting to stay in the room and be safe in case the guards didn't know who I was and would kill me on sight. My curiosity, however, wouldn't leave me alone and wanted me to explore the castle. I was handed an opportunity to explore a castle in the demon world, and part of me did not want it going to waste. Yes, you can go much further, but we'll leave it at that for now. I was torn on what to do. I might regret this. Let's explore. There was no way I was letting this chance pass me by. I stood and walked towards the door, opening it a crack and looking around. There was no one in the hall, but there were 2 directions to go. Which way? Left or right? I always go left. I went with left. I closed the door behind me as I exited my room and began to make my way down the left corridor. Everything was definitely medieval style, and I felt a bit small in the hall. It was like I was in a fairy tale, walking around in a wedding dress. It felt almost dreamlike. The passage seemed long, decorated with wall candles, paintings, and random curtains and flowers. It was mystical to see, and I smiled. As I approached another fork in the hall, however, I sighed. Really, how does one find their way around? I looked back, knowing I hadn't walked far from my room. I could turn back. Yet... left. I was heading left anyway. Might as well make another left. I turned left once more and headed down the hall, greeted by more fantastical decor. The sound of a heated battle caught my attention. I quickly rushed over to see a door barely open a crack, and behind it echoed the sounds of clashing swords. I peeked in to see Diana and the guard that was with her before in an intense sword fight. Now that I could take a closer look, the man was extremely handsome and looked human, yet I could sense that he was very much a demon just from his presence alone. I don't know, I wouldn't call him handsome. I like the long-haired guy. The man had the upper hand, but it was easy to tell that he was holding back slightly by letting Diana swing her sword again and again at him before attacking her and forcing her to defend. The look on Diana's face showed pure concentration and almost anger as her sword clashed with his. I had never seen Diana this intense before, so to see stress and determination written across her expression was a surprise. Why was she fighting with a sword, though? She had demon magic.
You're holding back! Enough!
Diana jumped back from the man, bringing her sword to her side as the man did the same in perfect sync. She growled before tossing the weapon to him, and he caught it by the hilt with ease.
I told you not to hold back. Didn't you hear me?
The man stared at Diana before gently bringing the swords together and making them vanish into a soft black mist. He began to walk towards her as she turned around and crossed her arms.
You can't treat me as if you are training a child, Sarah. I need to be ready for whatever the Demon Lord throws my way, and you holding back is only a hindrance to me.
I mean, she does have a point.
I apologize, my lady.
Empty words.
It clicked. They were training. This man was her trainer, and she was being treated like a novice. Why? Also, he did apologize. Why was she being so harsh about it? Maybe it was a mistake? Diana let out a sigh and walked over to the balcony of the room, laying her hands on the railing and leaning over her arms.
As each day goes by, my kingdom, my army, and I are constantly at risk. If I cannot defend myself when my energy runs out, then how will I defend this kingdom?
You will be victorious.
I will be slaughtered because of your inability to train me properly.
You know why I cannot, and yet you still demand it of me. I cannot bring myself to even potentially harm you.
And that will lead to my death.
What was Sayero talking about? Why couldn't he train her properly? Why was she so peeved? Goodness about it. Couldn't she just get another trainer?
You will not die, my lady. I promise you that.
I cannot trust anyone who says that to me.
But you know that it's true. I will repeat my promise over and over to you until you accept it.
That promise comes out of a lie.
I watched as Sayero walked over to Diana and gently wrapped his arms around her from behind. She didn't resist, but she didn't lean into the embrace either.
My love for you is not a lie, Azair.
You do not have permission to use my name.
You are avoiding the subject. My feelings for you are real.
Your feelings are false.
They are as pure and true as your golden heart.
Diana with a golden heart? Are you kidding me? I could not believe what I was seeing. Diana had an admirer? When did this become a thing? Who even was this guy to her? Why was she so against him and his love?
You will defeat the Demon Lord and bring freedom to the Abyssal Plains. You will rise and become the land's new queen and sovereign, and I will stand beside you forevermore because I love you. Deny my love all you may. I have served you and your family my entire life. I could never lie or hurt you. If you truly cannot love me back, then I will remain as your humble protector and servant till the end of my days. Deny my love all you may.
You waste your life on me.
Sorry, I keep hitting my mouse wheel.
It is not a waste to serve and protect the woman I love with my life.
You waste your love on me.
It's not a waste to love such a wonderful woman.
I didn't know what to make of this. Sayero really seemed dedicated to Diana, yet she was putting up some sort of emotional wall between them that he couldn't break through. It was sad to watch, yet from the posture Diana held, I could tell that she felt her actions were justified. Maybe she was trying to protect him from her. Maybe she didn't want to hurt him. I had seen firsthand what she could do if you had something she needed. This must be how she acted when something needed her. Tsundere alert! Oh my! Hello. Diana gently sighed. To his and my surprise, Diana turned her body slightly to Sayero in his arms and ran her hand over Sayero's chest, making his uniform top vanish into purple mist and leaving his chest bare. What was Diana doing? I wonder what she was doing. Let's think about that one. I really wish I could get the CGs and make this go away, because I want the CG.
I need energy.
Way to be blunt about it.
From me, or do you wish me to?
Just give me your energy. I have no time to wait for you to get me a sweet flower.
Sayero nodded before gently turning Diana fully to him in his arms and kissing her. For some reason, it may have looked like a normal kiss, but I could feel the love and passion that ran through it. It was almost magical to watch. Let's save it before I forget to. And then I think I can get to the CGs. Options. Nope. Back. Extras. There we go. Gallery. Matthew. Ah. Diana? Nope. Darn. General? Here we go. There you go, Wolfie. There was a TV series on... Yes. I watched the first season of it. What was it called? Gone Girl? I think it was called Gone Girl. She's like a succubus. There you go, Wolfie. Alright. Load. One thing was for certain, however, he really did love her. The way he held her, painted his feelings like a picture, so openly gentle and loving. Did she love him, though? She simply had one hand holding one of his arms while another rested against Sayero's back. Yes, Lost Girl, that was it. I've only seen one season of it, but it's such a trashy and amazing show. Diana's feelings were an enigma. I quickly took that moment to leave, not wanting to disturb them and not wanting to see their moment go any farther than a kiss. Oh, why not? I want to see that moment go farther than a kiss. I remained in my room until the night came. I was given food, which looked like soup. The woman who gave it to me apologized, letting me know that food was scarce until the upcoming harvest, which was a couple days away. Being that I was only staying the day, I didn't mind much. An enigma painted in grape jelly. Wow. I was more concerned over what I was given to eat. It was some sort of stew with mysterious chunks swimming in its broth. It smelled surprisingly good, but who knew how it tasted? Refuse it or eat it? Eat it. I gulped. I had to try. I had to eat it. I hadn't eaten in 2 days, even before I came to the demon world. What statement turned you on, Blue? I'm afraid to ask. I was pretty certain Diana wouldn't poison me now, and I was fairly sure that she wouldn't serve me anything disgusting. I lifted the spoon that was sitting in the broth, letting it capture some of the stew as it rose. I mean, it wasn't terribly scary to look at. I gulped and slowly brought the spoon to my lips, feeling the heat emanate from the stew. A knock rapped on my door, breaking me out of my train of thought. Huh? Come in! The door opened to reveal Diana with a plate holding things I recognized, bread and cheese. I let out a heavy sigh of relief before Diana laughed.
I suggest not trying that. As good as it smells, the taste would not sit well with you.
Instantly, I moved the bowl to the nearby table, thankful that I did not have to try it. Diana handed me the plate and nodded, reassuring me that what was on it was indeed what it seemed.
It's not much, but it's human food. Eat up.
I will. I began to chow down, feeling the hunger in my stomach dissipate with each bite and swallow. Freezing! The food I was eating, surprisingly, was delicious. As I began to crave something to drink, Diana chuckled and formed a small goblet in her hand, filled with clear liquid that I assumed to be water. I took it and drank it down, feeling my thirst quenched before I let out a sigh. I feel so much better.
I can tell. Take a moment to finish eating. Then we'll head for the ritual.
I looked up at Diana, suddenly excited. Everything was prepared for? Was it possible to go home now? As if she read my mind, she smiled and nodded.
We finished the main preparations. We just need to head over and we'll start.
I couldn't continue eating. My mind went into an obsessive frenzy of wanting to go home. I stood up, moving the plate and goblet to the nearby table. Let's go.
Huh? Are you sure?
I nodded, not wanting to waste any more time. I needed to get home and I was tired of waiting. Diana stared before nodding and heading for the door, opening it for me and exiting after me. As she closed the door behind her, I began to feel my heart flutter in relieved joy. I was heading home. Diana led me down the corridors to the war room where I had originally arrived, to reveal the table covered in plants and artifacts of different kinds. None of it made sense to me, but I had to only assume it was what was needed for the spell to work. Diana walked to the table and took note of what she saw, nodding.
This should work.
You're in doubt?
Have to be after the last time we tried sending her home. Do we have a human anchor?
No, you're on your own this time. But we'll make sure you survive casting it.
Oh, that's reassuring.
The spell should work, however, because we'll be using energy material. It will only require a slice of your energy on top of these items, which your guard can refill immediately after this.
Ow.
Just make sure you don't die casting it.
Diana smiled at her guard before turning to me.
So, are you ready to return home?
She didn't have to ask. I'm ready. Diana nodded once more before turning back to the table. She lifted her arms over the surface and lowered her head, muttering under her breath.
Otenibris portas, apriat nobis, largiatur exidium, desiderium.
As she spoke, the table began to glow, as did she. A dark purple aura began to surround her form as she lifted and arched her head back, staring at the ceiling. A glimpse at her eyes made me gasp. Warm golden orbs covered her blood-red irises, glowing with magic. She was deep within the spell, and I could see it slowly draw energy from her body. The items on the table began to gleam wildly, light orbs floating from them and dancing in the air above the table's surface. They began to weave back and forth with each other, almost as if the lights were dancing to a silent tune. The other demons stepped back as Diana moved her arms up and pointed to the dancing lights. Her fingers pointed into the air, leading the lights to follow where it directed obediently. She drew a large circle in the air, and the lights followed like a perfect trail, spreading out and forming a large void in the air. As they finally stopped moving, they burst into a bright light, causing the demons and I to cover our eyes from it. It engulfed the room, but died down just as fast, revealing a small tear in the air. Diana quickly leaned forward and dug her hands into it before pulling the tear apart, revealing, "My bedroom!" Diana continued to pull the tear open, giving enough space for me to jump through.
Hurry and go through! This is your chance!
I wasn't going to let it go to waste. I gripped the bottom of my dress and rushed forward, using momentum to jump into the air and forward towards the void. I could almost reach it. I could feel the air conditioning of my room right at my fingertips. I was...
She will never leave this world alive!
Oh, for fuck's sake. The Demon Lord's voice rang through the air just as I saw my fingertips pass through the tear. What stopped the rest of my body was a red light and force, forcing me and Diana back from the opening. Ah! I felt my body fly backwards and slam into the wall before I landed on the stone ground. I heard Diana as well land beside me with a painful thud. Mine or the other people's? Because mine is terrible. I looked up and felt my heart break as the tear became wrapped in red lightning, zipping itself closed and vanishing into thin air. No, this couldn't be.
Damn it!
That should have worked! How could it have failed?
Yeah, Diana's really good. Bad Chica, lots of thudding.
He must have missed something. Was there anything we had forgotten?
No. I verified everything myself.
Then why was the Demon Lord able to overpower a gate spell?
I highly doubt you know either, brute.
Stop fighting! We need to make a plan and all of you are just being stupid! Stupid, 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 stupid!
Are you alright, Isaiah?
I'm fine. It is...
I was too lost in my mind to fully understand what was going on around me. I was so close, I felt the other side. I had almost made it home. Why couldn't I go home? Diana's grunt of pain next to me made me shoot my head towards her, and I watched her slowly push herself off of the ground and glare at the table.
The Demon Lord must have done something more than simply bring her here.
What could he have done?
The Demon Lord is incapable of doing anything of the sort. His lackey imps must have done something to her.
A spell?
A curse.
I looked to the rabbit woman, seeing her stare wide-eyed at me. The other demons stared at me as well, and suddenly I felt like I was on display. Was something wrong with me?
She will not leave the demon world alive. He must have placed some sort of curse on her to prevent her from leaving this plane. In order to leave, she'd have to die.
What? My mind went blank. Did the Demon Lord really curse me? Was I forced to stay in this world until I died? I could never go back?
Are you suggesting a barrier curse?
That would explain the red energy that sealed the tear.
But dark magic like that requires...
The blood of 1,000 demons. He must have sacrificed part of his army to cast a curse on her that would prevent her from leaving.
Wow, way to be brutal.
The Demon Lord is that desperate for her.
The only way to break that kind of curse is to kill the caster, the Demon Lord himself.
With pleasure!
She's trapped here until this war is over.
My body began to shiver violently. The Demon Lord killed 1,000 demons just to trap me here. Why? Why? I slammed my fist into the ground and began to scream. I want to go home! Why? I could feel the sympathy and anger in the room, but I didn't care. I was beyond livid. I was far past broken. I was seeing red. No. As my voice ripped through the air, a bright light erupted through the room once again. A bright liquid. Freudian slip? Everyone covered their eyes, but Diana quickly scrambled to get on her knees and covered me with her body. She held me tightly as the light invaded the space and slowly began to fade. As the light finally died, everyone moved their hands to see what had happened. In the air was a white tear that was slowly opening face down towards the table. Something was coming. I could feel it in the air. The guard summoned his spear and pointed it at the tear, glaring at it and gritting his teeth. It's probably Matthew.
Something's coming!
Phrasing. In reply, Diana summoned what looked like a saber and placed it in front of us.
Ready yourselves! It could be the Demon Lord!
The other demons in the room readied themselves and stared at the tear, either holding a weapon or preparing a spell. I felt the air change, becoming heavier as the tear began to grow. The energy around it began to pulsate, making everyone in the room that much more tense. The wording! Pulsate? Really? Really? I stared at the tear as well, frightened as to what was coming. Was it the Demon Lord, his minions? My mind began to cycle through fearful ideas of what was about to appear. The boys! My heart almost stopped. Fallen from the tear and landing on the table were the 5 incubi brothers. Okay, there are 6 colors at the beginning, so Diana's root must be included in this game. They were piled on top of one another, having come through one at a time. However, as the last brother landed, the boys fell to one side, toppling off the table and landing on the floor. The rebels around me stared at the fallen pile of incubi, confused and surprised. As the tear in the air closed, the ogre man was the first to lower his sword.
What the hell?
Who are they?
Careful, they could be the Demon Lord's men.
No. The rebels looked up to me as I stood up, Diana following and still protecting me as I stared at the boys on the ground. They all looked dazed and a bit shell-shocked from having fallen twice in rapid succession. I almost couldn't believe it. There they were, right in front of me. My mind couldn't help but remember how I had first met them. They had all been on the floor of my mansion, unconscious and wounded. Now they were in front of me in the demon world. I know them. Yay! I stared at the one that I was meant to marry, seeing him slowly shake his head and rise from the ground. They came to rescue me. He came to rescue me. My heart became overjoyed and full of warmth and happiness. I was going to go home. The question was, how? As the sight of the boys kept the demon's attention, a second tear opened above them, causing everyone to look up. 4 women dropped down from the tear and somehow managed to fall into the arms of the incubi behind Matthew.
Whoa!
I gotcha!
Whoa! Are you okay?
Eric!
She looks like a frickin', oh god, what are the dragon people in Final Fantasy? But she looks like one of those, like the horns, really?
Love, I've got you!
James!
Whoa! Are you alright?
I stared wide-eyed. Their wives came too? I watched as the boys and the girls finally planted themselves on the ground before looking around. However, Matthew instantly bolted for me, causing Diana to jump away in surprise. Yes, Al-Ra!
Whoa!
Matthew wrapped his arms around me and I instinctively tensed up from being charged at before taking in his scent in physical form. He was here. I wasn't dreaming. He really came for me and here he was, and he was here holding me.
Are you okay? Are you hurt?
I'm fine. I almost couldn't believe it, but I wrapped my arms around Matthew's torso, pulling him tighter to me as I took in one more whiff of his scent. However, before I could melt into his arms in relief at his presence, he was forcefully dragged backwards.
Hold it! Hold it! Hold it!
Whoa!
Huh? I watched as the fairy figure gripped Matthew's hoodie and roughly pulled him away from me with an angered face. Wait! Hold it!
Matthew!
Before anyone could react, Matthew spun around and swiped at the fairy. They squeaked and released him, floating higher into the air.
Hands off!
You hands off!
I quickly rushed over and held Matthew's hand, wanting to bring his attention away from the fairy and back to me. Of course. I reached up and grabbed Matthew's face, pulling him to me and kissed him. His eyes stared in shock before he melted against my lips and held my head in his hands, kissing me deeper. I closed my eyes in sync with his as I lowered my hands and wrapped them around his shoulders. I was beyond happy to feel him again. At that moment, I didn't even care how he had found me. I was just happy that he was here with me again. Smoochies! Smoochies are sweet. Unfortunately, Matthew and I couldn't stay close for long. The fairy shouting caused us to pull apart and look at them.
He has the same aura as the Demon Lord!
They all do! You didn't notice, bitch? Rubbing her head and glaring at the fairy, Diana stepped up, crossing her arms and rubbing her temple.
Well, he is the son of the Demon Lord.
Let's get you home.
Matthew gently took my hand and tugged me towards his brothers. However, this time Diana stepped in front of Matthew.
I'm afraid she can't leave.
And why not?
She's been cursed. She can't leave this plane without dying. But if you wish to kill your bride to bring her back to the demon world, then be my guest.
Matthew glared at Diana and stepped in front of me protectively.
Why should I believe you?
It's true, Matthew. The demon lord cursed me, so I can't leave. I placed my hand on Matthew's shoulder, causing him to turn his head and look at me in surprise. His expression morphed from anger to sudden fear.
What? You can't be serious.
We are, but don't worry. We plan to kill the one who cursed her soon enough.
When?
1 week's time.
1 week? What?
Where is this number coming from, Succubus?
We need to fully prepare ourselves for the final stage, which I'm certain will only take a couple of days. We've pinned him into a corner. The demon lord will fall.
That's rather bold to assume.
She's right, though. We can prepare everything in that time frame, right?
And if he does the same and attacks us before then?
He won't.
I watched as Diana walked over and cleared the table of the materials they had gathered for the gate spell, revealing a physical map of the Abyssal Plains. She pointed to a spot on the map, a peninsula surrounded by water labeled as the Decaying Sea.
We'll cast a barrier spell along the edge of the peninsula and around the castle. He and his army won't be able to move from that spot until we break it ourselves, which will be during the siege.
Where would we get the energy needed for that kind of spell?
We won't be using energy.
The other rebel demons in the room suddenly tensed up, staring at Diana in surprise. What was she going to do?
My lady, you're not suggesting...
The demon lord has shown how far he is willing to go to win this war. It's only fitting to show the extent we'll go to in response.
As much as I agree with you, this seems a little rash.
What are you guys talking about?
Are they allowed to know?
I plan to put a barrier curse around the demon lord's castle and army. It's temporary, so it won't need the blood of 1,000 demons. But it will need the sacrifice of at least one demon life.
And I assume you'll be sacrificing one of my soldiers.
It's kind of intense.
Is this our only option?
There are other options, but they will most likely take a lot of energy to pull off.
It just depends on what we want to do. If we want to do this immediately, then the barrier curse is indeed the best option.
I'm not opposed to performing the curse. As rash as it is, it will make our lives easier in the long run.
You expect me to hand over one of my men? My soldiers joined the rebellion to kill the demon lord, not to get their throats slit before even seeing the final battle?
It's wrong, but can we really afford to spend any more energy? Diana already spent a lot trying to send the human back.
What is the other option?
The rabbit woman and the fairy moved towards the map and pointed at the peninsula.
We could form tall rock walls around the castle. Box him in.
It will take a lot of our energy, but we can recover in that week period.
And what will stop the demon lord from tearing down the walls?
I can imbue the walls with holy magic.
But you're a demon. How do you have holy magic if you're a demon? The incubi and I looked at him, all of us equally surprised. A demon with holy magic? How? Thank you!
How the fuck did you get holy magic? You look and smell like a demon.
Ah, I forgot how funny you were, Sam. The guard held up his wrapped hand, letting the beads around it jangle with a sudden motion.
I've had the ability to use holy magic ever since I was taken in by my lady's family. There's no doubt that I am a demon, but I can't recall how I gained this ability. I've had the ability.
How is holy magic different than demon magic?
It's white magic. Unlike demon magic, holy magic isn't so finicky. Think of it as warding or dispelling magic. You can't bless air or anything that doesn't have physical form, but you can bless objects to fight back against other forms of magic.
If the walls were blessed with holy magic, the Demon Lord wouldn't be able to escape until we released him.
Why not just trap him forever?
That's idiotic. He would still be a threat regardless. Holy magic doesn't last forever, and stone will crumble eventually.
He's right. We wouldn't be able to keep the walls up forever.
Well, geez, guys, way to be practical. The situation became more and more complicated the more we discussed it. How are we going to go about this?
We can't just sit around and debate this forever. The longer we wait, the more we risk him striking back at us.
But is it worth killing someone to trap him?
When we finally strike, we will lose hundreds, if not thousands, of soldiers anyway. What difference will it make to lose one more life on top of this?
Soulless fuck.
We can still cage him in.
I bit my lip. It was a really tough decision, a curse or a trap, which was better. Both had their prices, but we had to choose one. From the look of it, no one wanted to speak up, so I felt the urge to say something. Maybe I would be the one who would determine everything. But which method would be the best choice? I say the trap. Everyone in the room finally looked up at me as I spoke. Wow. Everyone in the room looked up at me as I finally spoke up. We needed to be better than the Demon Lord. He was willing to sacrifice lives to trap me here, but it only showed how desperate he was to win and how little he valued life. He would lose this war one way or another. It wasn't worth losing someone who could help turn the tide of war. When can you put a barrier up?
We can leave after this, meeting is over.
Are you sure this is the best choice?
The curse isn't the only option. We need to show that we're better than him. Everyone nodded, some in reluctance, while the others did with confidence. I looked at Diana just in time to catch a twitch from her visible eye, but she shook her head and looked to the rabbit woman.
Are you quite positive this will work?
I am very certain. Since it will be just 3 of us going, we can shadow travel there and be back by the morning.
Diana looked at her guard and nodded.
Very well. If you believe it will work, then I trust you will make sure it does.
As the guard nodded and slightly bowed, the other demons seemed to let out a sigh of relief. Were they worried about performing the curse? Diana shook her head before crossing her arms and looking directly at me.
So, since you'll be here for a while, we might as well give you names that you can use to refer to everyone here.
Fucking finally, bitch!
Are we getting human names?
She's so cute.
Must we?
Yes, you must, sexy long-haired man. Diana rolled her eyes and gestured to each demon, naming them on the fly.
For the sake of time, we'll use simple names. This is Rabbit, our magic advisor, Sergeant, commander of our armies, Shadow, leader of our assassins, and Faye, our nomadic force ambassador.
Sergeant, I'm a commander, succubus. Shouldn't my name be Commander?
It's easier on the tongue, though, to say Sergeant.
No, it's not.
My lady, what shall they call me?
Diana looked at Sayero for a moment before turning towards me, a look of seriousness emanating from her eyes.
You may call him Sero. He is my personal guard, and he is always by my side.
The other demons and Sayero seemed to be surprised. Was Sayero his true demon name? Why would she give me his true name?
Are you sure?
Call him only if your life depends on it. Do not abuse this permission.
Yes'm. Her eyes seemed to burn as she gazed into mine, full of hard intent and warning. I mentally noted her seriousness as she ran a hand through her hair.
Well, now that we have a plan and introductions are out of the way, I believe we can end this meeting. We have a lot to accomplish in 1 week.
What about us? You don't expect us to sit around.
Actually, I do. You all don't belong on the battlefield.
What are you talking about?
I will not take untrained and unarmed beings into a war zone.
Hold on. I interjected, stepping forward and crossing my arms at Diana. She seriously wasn't going to make us stay back while she fought the Demon Lord, was she? We can fight too. Diana squinted at me, pressing her lips together into a fine line. However, I meant what I said. We could fight too.
You expect me to trust that you can fight in a war?
Let me and my brothers train then. We're demons, for fuck's sake. We know how to fight.
Sam, you have definitely gotten more of a potty mouth since the first game. The boys stared at Diana as she turned her head towards Sam. He was right, though. They knew how to train, so they knew how to fight. If they fought with the rebellion, there would be a better chance of winning this war.
You all realize this is a war, correct? You can die here.
We understand completely.
We do as well.
Alright, aw-raw lady. Diana could only stare at our group as we challenged her proclamation. I wrapped my hand around my fiancé's arm, frightened at the idea of participating in a war, but knowing that we needed all the strength we could muster to finish off the Demon Lord. This was the only way I could go home. Defeated, Diana sighed and rubbed her temples.
Very well. I can't exactly keep you here like prisoners, so it will be up to you if you choose to train for battle. However, I highly suggest just staying here and allowing us to handle it.
I nodded, as did the others. This was really happening. We were going to kill the Demon Lord, and we had 1 week to either prepare for war or wait it out. Diana turned towards me and looked down at my outfit. I had nearly forgotten that I was still in my wedding dress until Diana pointed at my chest. I forgot she was in the wedding dress too.
Lumen infere, bellum tabescere, serene.
I stared at her, unsure of why she was speaking in Latin, until I felt the fabric around my body shift and change. I quickly looked down to see my wedding dress morph into an outfit that looked perfect for the demon world. Well, I want to know what it is. The white top shifted into a long-sleeved, oversized tunic with a leather corset and vest, while the bottom part of the gown split and wrapped around my legs, forming into dark leggings. My shoes stretched into long knee-high boots. Wow.
Oh wow! That looks really good on you.
I blushed, getting used to the feeling of the outfit. The corset wasn't tight, but it was still something new along with the rest of the garb. Matthew, however, smiled down at me and kissed over my forehead.
You look really cute.
Cute? In a corset? What? What? Come on. Thanks.
Faye, Rabbit, you both should finish your preparations and head over to the Demon Lord's castle for the spell.
How are you going to get there?
I'll get us there, no problem.
Just make sure we don't get stuck there or lost.
Exactly, Wolfie. Those leggings really hug your ass, or your tits look amazing in that corset. That's how you respond, not cute. Cheese.
No promises.
Sarah, make sure the job is done.
I shall, my lady.
Sayaro, Faye, and Rabbit began to make their way out of the room as Diana turned to me and my group. As they left, Diana left out a small sigh.
I will take you to some rooms you may rest in.
Thank you, Diana. Diana merely nodded and led our group out of the room towards our new temporary rooms. This entire experience was not something I expected to go through, especially since it was now interfering with my wedding. I was trapped in the demon world under a curse I couldn't break without the demon lord being killed as I was expected to wait. The entire journey to my room became one filled with mild anger within me. At least Matthew was here to help me through this, but I still couldn't help but let the situation sink underneath my skin. This wasn't fair at all. I knew Matthew could sense my anger, and he lightly squeezed my hand, which was gently cupped in his as he walked beside me.
Hey, what's wrong?
I let out a shaky sigh and looked to him, letting it go. It's just unfair, you know? The whole thing has become a large, complicated mess, and I gritted my teeth and squeezed Matthew's hand back. I didn't want to complain, as things were going to be fixed soon, but it was still infuriating to think that I couldn't do anything immediately. Matthew slowly released my hand and wrapped it around my shoulders.
Hey, don't worry about it, alright? Think about it as a vacation or something.
A vacation? Matthew grinned and nodded, hugging me slightly to his side.
Yeah, a vacation to, see new sights?
I couldn't help the amused smile on my face as Matthew tried to make me feel better. It was another reason why I adored him. He did his very best to make sure that I was happy. Despite the crappy situation we were in, I was thankful for that. I wrapped my arm around him and nodded. Thanks, Matthew. Matthew smiled and nodded before kissing my cheek.
You're welcome. Anything for you.
Matthew and I continued to walk down the halls of the castle until we arrived at the same ambassador room I had slept in before. I guess that the room was mine for now. Stepping in, Matthew looked around in slight awe.
Whoa. Awesome digs.
Who says digs? Really? Really? I had to giggle at Matthew's surprise. It was almost like we had stepped into a hotel on vacation, except this one was forced on us until after the end of a civil war. It was mildly messed up, but it was a situation we had to deal with. I walked over to the bed and sat down, letting out a sigh at feeling the softness underneath me. The bed was still as comfy as last night. Matthew, however, began to walk around the room, taking in the sight of the decor. Yeah, that's what I want to know too. Why is he more awestruck by the room and not by her corset and leggings? Because, damn.
This is a really fancy room. I wonder what room the others got.
I smiled, watching Matthew ponder for a moment before replying to his statement. I have about 10 minutes left, and my voice is starting to go, so we will see how far I make it in those 10 minutes. Yeah, apparently this is the open ambassador's room. I was able to sleep here when I arrived. Matthew stared at me dumbfounded for a moment before slapping his forehead and shaking his head.
Right. Time's different here. Holy crap, I forgot about that.
Wait, huh? I became confused as to what Matthew meant. What did he mean about time being different here? Matthew looked up at me and grinned sheepishly.
Well, how do I explain this without making it confusing?
No, Blue, I don't do webcams. Matthew rubbed the back of his head, staring at the fireplace before speaking.
Well, you see, time moves faster here compared to the human world. Like, much faster. If I remember right, then I think the time difference is every 5 hours here is 1 hour there? Maybe?
I'm smiling most of the time, so... Wait, huh? So if I was here for a day, then... Matthew took a moment to do the math before nodding and speaking again.
Yeah, that's right. You were gone from the human world for about 5 hours.
5 hours? I was astonished. The time difference was really prominent and a little disorienting. Disorientating? Disorientating isn't a word. It's disorienting. Didn't that mean time moved faster here? I was getting confused, holding my head to try and unscramble my thoughts as they collided. Matthew, however, rushed over to me and sat down next to me, hip to hip.
Hey, don't worry about it, okay? We found you, so that's all that matters.
I could only nod before looking at the ground. It was a lot to take in, but at least I wasn't really missing for a day in the human world. However, I was going to be here for a week, so in accordance to the time difference, I would be missing for more than a day. How was everyone at home going to react? I could only hope that something was used as a cover to delay the wedding or the like. I looked up to Matthew, now a bit concerned.
Huh? What is it?
What happened while I was missing? Matthew frowned a bit and rubbed his head, running his hands through his fluffy hair as he spoke, staring at his knees.
Well, when you didn't come with the rings, we got kind of worried and tried to call you. When you didn't pick up, we kind of panicked, but Irene and Iridessa decided to rush over to the house to see what had happened. They came back, saying you were gone. We pretty much scrambled to use our magic to wipe everyone's memories, reschedule everything, and use the time to find out what happened.
Matthew pressed his lips together, most likely remembering what he felt during my absence. I felt bad, but there was nothing I could have done to stop it. Matthew shook his head and continued.
I guess we have to thank Simon for finding you. Without him, we wouldn't have figured out what happened.
Simon? Really? The creepy little toy thing? Ugh. Matthew nodded before stuffing his hand in his pocket and pulling out the infuriating stuffed animal. Simon blinked a couple of times before looking up at me and giggling like he usually did. I'll have to dig out a picture later, Wolfie, but it's this, like, creepy little white squirrel rabbit type thing, and it carries a knife. It's fucking creepy. Simon! Simon jumped from Matthew's hands into my arms and crawled up onto my shoulder, becoming immobile like a doll once he settled between my neck and shoulder. I gave his head a little pat before looking back to Matthew. Well, he was the one that hid the rings. I had to find him.
I know, but after you were taken, he helped us pinpoint where you were, and bam! Here we are.
Matthew chuckled a bit as he ruffled some of Simon's fur.
I guess this little furball was useful after all.
I could only smile before leaning over to kiss Matthew's cheek, what? Making him gasp slightly. At least you found me. Soon we'll be able to go home and get married like we planned. It gave me a little hope to let the thought sink in. Despite the terrible situation we were in, we would soon be able to go home. I was positive we would win this war and everything would work out just fine in the end. Matthew seemed to agree, nodding as well with a smile.
Yeah, we'll go home soon.
Matthew wrapped his arms around me and nuzzled the side of my head, making me softly giggle. My body felt relieved to have him near me, causing me to wrap my own arms around him. My heart was jumping with joy regardless of the situation we were in. Simon took the cue to hop off my shoulder and quickly skittered across the floor and up the fireplace mantel, resting on it with the decor that sat upon it. Matthew, however, soon released me and fell back onto the bed, feeling its softness.
Man, it's been so long since I felt a demon bed.
What's the difference from a regular bed? Matthew grinned up at me and crossed his hands behind his head, lounging back on the mattress.
Well, demons don't sleep in this world, so we get very comfy beds just so we can lay back and relax on.
Wait, demons don't sleep? No, creepy stuffed animals? I don't know if I want to go play that.
Nah, we're too paranoid that people will kill us in our sleep.
I'll write it down, though, and maybe I'll check it out. We'll see. Tattletale. I'll write it down. Then how the heck do you function?
Energy and food. As long as we have both, we can pretty much be awake 24/7.
The way that Matthew seemed relaxed about the whole thing made it seem he liked being here. A part of me was curious on whether or not he liked being in this world more than the human world, but I had to remember, he went to the human world of his own accord. Besides, he was ready to marry me and live his entire life in my world. Matthew stretched and let out a groan before relaxing onto the bedsheets, letting out a small yawn.
Oh, I'm tired. You want to hit the hay?
I nodded, feeling exhaustion run over me, causing me to lie back and cuddle up to Matthew, nuzzling into his shoulder. He chuckled before wrapping an arm around me.
I love you so much. I promise we'll get home soon.
I smiled, kissing his cheek before closing my eyes and drifting to sleep. Tomorrow was going to be a long day. And with that, I think we will hit save. Oh, main. Yes, so Diana's route is here. That'll be fun. Alright. No extras. End with, that CG you really like, Wolfie. Demonic Furbies. I will look at the game Tattletale, but I can't guarantee that I will play it. I can't guarantee. Anyway, thank you guys for coming. I know it's weird, like this is my first stream, so it was fun, but I'll do another one Valentine's weekend. I think that's February 12th, and I'll probably play more of this. I'll leave this route alone and play some other routes that I like for some of the other characters, and I'll leave this one for streaming. So thank you guys.